Just 9 miles from Nagasaki lies Hashima Island, an eerie, abandoned world of crumbling concrete and forgotten lives. Once a booming coal mining town, it now stands silent, like a real-life post-apocalyptic set. What was left behind? That's the shocking part. Stick around. We're diving into Japan's ghost island. Arrival. As our boat approaches Hashima, the first thing you notice is its shape. From a distance, the island resembles a battleship, earning it the nickname Gunkanjima, which literally means Battleship Island. It rises starkly from the sea, surrounded by concrete seawalls. There are no trees, no color, just a block of gray looming in the ocean. Stepping ashore is like entering a different world, a world that hasn't seen life in decades. There's a deep silence, interrupted only by the cry of seabirds and the crunch of debris beneath your feet. The air smells of salt and rust. Everything feels abandoned, forgotten. Windows gape like hollow eyes. Stairs lead nowhere. Vegetation has crept into cracks where feet once walked. You feel as though you're trespassing in a memory, one that's slowly being erased by time and nature. There's an eerie beauty to it all, a haunting serenity. It's hard to believe thousands once called this place home, yet beneath the dust and decay, echoes of life remain, waiting to tell their story. But it wasn't always this way. The rise of Hashima. In the late 1800s, Hashima was just a rocky speck in the sea. That changed when Mitsubishi bought the island in 1890 and began mining the undersea coal deposits. Soon, the island transformed into an industrial marvel, a self-contained city floating in the ocean. By the 1950s, Hashima was home to more than 5,000 people, making it one of the most densely populated places on Earth. At just 16 acres in size, every inch was built up. Towering concrete apartment blocks, Japan's first of their kind, sprouted across the island. There were schools, shops, a hospital, even a rooftop garden. People lived stacked upon one another, bound by the common rhythm of shift work in the mines below. Daily life followed a rigid structure. Miners worked long hours in stifling heat and dangerous conditions. Women maintained households in cramped quarters, often caring for children while running small businesses inside their apartments. Kids walked narrow paths between buildings, played on rooftops, and attended school in rooms packed with over 50 students. Despite the crowding, there was a palpable sense of order, pride, and purpose. The island even boasted luxuries rarely seen in post-war Japan: electricity, cinema, and piped water. Residents had access to shops selling everything from fresh fish to records. There were community events, movie nights, and summer festivals on the rooftops. Hashima was more than just a work camp. It was a city that symbolized Japan's post-war industrial strength. But the good times didn't last forever. The fall. By the 1960s, coal was no longer king. Japan began shifting to petroleum, and demand plummeted. The mines grew less profitable. In 1974, Mitsubishi announced the closure of Hashima's mine. Practically overnight, the island was evacuated. Families were given just a few days to pack up and leave. And when they left everything: furniture, clothes, toys, books still on shelves, cups still in cabinets. Life stopped, suddenly. Many believed they'd return, that it was temporary, but they never did. Some residents were heartbroken, having spent their entire lives on the island. Lifelong neighbors were separated. School teachers left mid-term. Workers never got to finish their final shifts. The island, once humming with voices, machines, and music, fell completely silent. Without people, nature took over. Walls cracked, roofs collapsed, saltwater corroded steel beams, floors buckled under the weight of neglect. Typhoons and sea spray further battered the concrete shell. Hashima became a ghost town surrounded by the sea, cut off from the world. For decades, no one came here. The buildings stood like tombstones of an era Japan tried to forget, a haunting monument to rapid rise and abrupt ruin. What was left behind? Wandering through the island today is both haunting and fascinating. Peeking into the abandoned school, you'll find desks scattered across the classroom, some still with notebooks open. Chalk marks remain on the blackboards, as if the teacher had just stepped out for lunch. In the hospital, rusted gurneys sit in empty corridors. Medical charts and surgical instruments lie strewn across the floor. One room still has an anatomy poster hanging from a nail, faded but eerily intact. Apartment buildings are the most chilling of all. Rusted fans dangle from ceilings. Beds are made with rotting blankets. There are family photos on the walls, yellowed by time but untouched. You get the overwhelming sense that people expected to return, but never did. The communal bathhouse still holds cracked tiles and broken faucets. In the movie theater, torn film reels and old movie posters cling to the damp walls. And on the rooftops, where children once flew kites and neighbors gathered for fresh air, plants have begun to sprout through the cracks. Vines snake through open windows. Trees now grow in collapsed stairwells. Life, in its own way, is reclaiming the island. This isn't just abandonment. It's suspended life, a real-life Pompeii of the modern age. The darker history. But Hashima also holds darker secrets, ones many visitors never hear about. During World War II, the island became a forced labor camp. Korean and Chinese prisoners were brought here to work in brutal conditions, digging coal in dangerous, collapsing tunnels deep beneath the sea. Thousands toiled in the dark, many without adequate food or rest. Many died. Testimonies from survivors describe beatings, starvation, and long hours deep underground. The miners worked under constant fear of accidents, cave-ins, or worse. Escape was impossible. The island was surrounded by water, patrolled and watched. Punishments were harsh, and basic human rights were stripped away. The island's prosperity, during those years, was built on the suffering of the oppressed. Yet for decades, this chapter was hidden, left out of textbooks, ignored in tours. It wasn't until recent years that pressure mounted for Japan to acknowledge this painful part of Hashima's past. A small museum now attempts to tell that side of the story, but much remains unspoken, and many wounds remain unhealed. For some, Hashima is a testament to progress and industrial might. For others, it is a scar, a symbol of human cost and forgotten suffering. Hashima today. After being completely closed off for decades, Hashima reopened to the public in 2009, partially. You can now take guided boat tours that let you step onto a designated safe area of the island. Most of the island remains off-limits due to the risk of collapse, but even from the viewing path, the decaying grandeur is unmistakable. Tourism surged after the island was featured in the 2012 James Bond film Skyfall, where it served as a villain's lair. That eerie setting wasn't CGI, it was real. UNESCO declared Hashima a World Heritage Site in 2015, though the decision stirred controversy due to the island's wartime past. As the tour boats circle the island, guides narrate stories of innovation and abandonment, glory and grief. For those on land, standing among the ruins is a surreal, almost spiritual experience, a place where history breathes through broken concrete and rusted metal. Today, Hashima stands as both a ruin and a relic. It's a powerful reminder of how quickly prosperity can turn to dust and how history doesn't disappear. It lingers in broken walls, empty chairs, and silent hallways. Final reflections. Walking through Hashima is like stepping through a living time capsule. Every corner holds a story. Every cracked tile and rusted stairwell speaks of lives lived, lost, and left behind. It's easy to romanticize abandoned places, but Hashima resists simple narratives. It forces you to confront both the triumph of human innovation and the tragedy of human suffering. It's both awe-inspiring and sobering. The silence here is deafening, not just because it's quiet, but because of what's missing: laughter, footsteps, the hum of daily life. You begin to realize that history isn't always told through books and museums. Sometimes it lingers in ruins. It tells us that progress comes at a cost, that people can be forgotten, that stories can vanish, unless we choose to remember. As you leave the island, looking back at its crumbling silhouette against the ocean horizon, you're left with more questions than answers. What happened to the families? What stories were buried in those walls? And what would have happened if the coal never ran out? This is Hashima, a place that boomed, collapsed, and now whispers from the edge of Japan's history. reminding us that even concrete cities can disappear, but their echoes remain. Thanks for joining us on this chilling journey through Hashima Island. If you found this story as haunting and fascinating as we did, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And let us know in the comments, would you dare visit Battleship Island? Stay curious, stay adventurous. Until next time.